This is a battle where Blademaster and Obelix are doing something quite cool, something that I like to do myself, which is to sort of find out, is it the player or is it the build? Because some players have a talent for making builds that are very effective and they use them well. Now if you have the weaker build, you're going to have to, and the build is the equivalent of an army. So if your army is significantly weaker than your opponent's army, of course you have to play better than your opponent. You can afford lesser mistakes and so on. If two armies were equally matched, then it comes down to player skill. But if two armies are unequally matched, then the strength of the army is very important. So I quite like watching these battles, and I'm curious to see how this goes because I don't know. And it's almost like I like watching battles more than I like playing them myself, and it's been that way for quite some time. Before I made my channel, I was always looking for the Prussian Prince to upload some Total War Rome 2 battles. I have been following ERE of Carthage's battles for quite some time, and what I liked about those guys was that they talk about what they do, why they do it, how they think things are going to go, what they could have gone differently, and so on. And that appeals to me rather than people who go for a more fluffy approach, trying to make things sound really interesting and really cool while ignoring the actual things that are happening on the battlefield. So that's something that inspired me in my channel quite a bit. Fits my personality as well, and is something I think the Prussian Prince in ERE of Carthage does really well too. And of course I have to mention Blademaster because he's a more recent addition than the Prussian Prince and ERE of Carthage, of course, but he also has that going for him. So here we have the two armies. We have the, let's see, this is the Western Roman Empire, and here we have the Sassanids. Now to go over the army of the Western Romans first, this is a bit of an unusual army. Two noble federati javelins, two levis armatura, and considering they are up against the Sassanids, they need some cavalry killing power, so it makes sense, but you don't see them too often. Then you have armigeri defensores and elite palatina, armigeri, elite palatina. So the elite palatina, very high melee attack, very high melee damage as well, nice charge bonus, very nice for supporting cavalry fights. Then we have Cataphractari, good choice, decent Cataphractari and Contari actually, so going very cheap on the cavalry. And for the Sassanids, we have two Shaden Immortals. I've fallen in love with these units myself. They were worthless before, but now they're quite good. Armenian Slingers, of course, they are a given, so we have a total of 4 Armenian Slingers. Then we have Persian Brigade, 4 Persian Brigade, Bronze, 3. Gripenvar Cataphracts, Gripenvar, so 4 Gripenvar, 2 cheap Savarans, Daylamites in the center. So going cheap infantry with the Sassanids, that's the way to go, I think. Just have some very light Persian Brigade support. Have a few Daylamites for the precursors and the staying power, but going for the Armenians, shock cavalry and Shadens, I quite agree with that choice. Good choice. Now, how the Western Roman army is going to fare against this, that's another story. Because the Western Roman army has a much stronger infantry support here. So if the shock cavalry matches the shock cavalry, it's going to be really difficult for the Sassanid infantry to cope with this Roman infantry. But it's going to be very difficult for the Roman skirmish to deal with the Armenians. The Armenian slingers can just push back the entire line of the Romans here, unless the Romans decide to push with infantry. So the Shaden Immortals going up the flanks here. Armenian Slingers, the great range on these guys means that they can be very, very annoying. That extra range really helps. And this unit needs to be very careful, this Cataphractari, because it's very vulnerable to flaming arrows. Vulnerable to heavy shot as well. Being chased away, and the Shaden Immortals move into range of Funditores, which is a very bad time for the Shaden Immortals if they get hit and slowed down. So We see the Sassanids wanting to increase the distance here, going back. And the Shred Immortals, they haven't lost anything yet. They are a fairly sturdy unit. But this is not what they want to do. They do not want to trade with loose formation Funditores. That is not an ideal situation. They want to be sniping cavalry as much as possible. And then when they've spent their ammunition, and they have a lot of ammunition, so they're one of the few units that can afford to waste a few volleys. Because they have so many of them, but... very risky play here, charging into the Shred Immortals. Charging the Shred Immortals into the Funditores. Managed to kill a Funditore, I believe. But it also means that the Cataphractarii are getting close, and it means they're getting shot on the disengage, so not a good trade for the Shred Immortals. But the Cataphractarii are also starting to lose men here, and is this due to... it's due to slinger fire, and here you see the devastating power of the Armenian slingers. So pulling out that unit of Cataphractarii was actually a good idea because of the Armenian slingers. And that combination with the... and you can see it here as well. Kontari here, taking fire from an Armenian slinger. And taking so much damage very, very rapidly. So using Shred Immortals to bait cavalry out like this and having Armenian slingers fire at incoming cavalry is just a great way to use the Sassanids. Very frustrating to play against. So this Cataphractarii, before it reaches the Shred Immortals, it might just die here. And the same thing over here, going frontally in against these Armenian slingers is not a good time for any cavalry unit. So the Shred Immortals get into the Funditores, but the Cataphractarii actually managed to get into the Shred Immortals, but they are slow. They are very depleted. And here we'll see the Levis Armaturae. Let's see if they're able to do something to the Grip War here. Nope, not before the Grip War hit. But here you can see the utility in loose formation. If these units weren't in loose formation, they would disappear on the charge. But now there are some units remaining, and support can be brought in. So these Grip War Cataphracts are essentially dead, and they just took care of a Levis Armaturae. So not a good trade for the Grip War whatsoever. But things can get interesting when these Shred Immortals are able to fire into the blob. Let's see here. Yeah, the Grip War won't be able to pull away very effectively. The Armenian slingers a bit too close here, so the Kontari are going to be able to get into the Armenian slingers. But that allows the Grip War Cataphracts to pull out slightly better. And the amount of map control that the Armenians can give the Sassanid players is quite good. And that's the end of the Kontari getting hit by a Grip War. The Armiger Defensores are also taking a lot of casualties. So these Roman units, unless these Noble Federati can work some magic, these 2 units down, I believe, or was it just 1? I think it was 2 units down from the Romans.
This is shameful.
And the Shred Immortals have taken a lot of casualties, so it's questionable whether this engagement was really worth it. You can see the kills on the Federati already, 7 kills there, 22 on the Armigeri. And Savaran Cataphracts going into Kontari. Bit of a weird engagement, but you can see the Savaran Cataphracts eating the Kontari alive, but some of the Kontari managed to get into the Armenian slingers here. But slowly the Roman army is being picked apart here. The Shred Immortals also have a good charge against infantry, so if they just pull away before they get hit by javelins here, they can get out of that situation. And here the Kontari are dead. In the center we have Grip War against Kontari. The Grip War are going to destroy them. Savaran Cataphracts into the Noble Federati. But losing that Shred Immortal, the Shred Immortal is twice the price of one of these cheap Roman shock cavalry units, so the Sassanids need to make sure they have enough left to kill the very strong infantry of the Romans here. And a charge, very nice. Oh no, that unit didn't get a charge. The Savarans didn't get the charge. The Grip War did get a charge against the Roman general here. But here come the Kontari, smashing into the Armenians, but the Armenians have already done quite a lot of damage in this battle. But they can continue through here and get another charge, so very nicely done here. And Funditores getting hit by Grip War. The Comes general is in a bit of a rough spot, but he has enough infantry support and enough Federati support that he's going to be able to tough it out. So I wonder whether the Sassanids have enough left now to deal with the rest of the Romans. Griffin War smashing into the Cataphractory there. And here come the Persian Brigade to save the day. Ooh, these Armigeri are open. But the Elite Palatina are going to get hit by a Shared Immortal. Looks like they are in loose formation as well. Nope, not a good charge by the Shared Immortals. But here we're going to see a good charge. Nope, not a good charge either. Weird things happen when you're in loose formation and moving against cavalry. But yeah, the Armigeri Defensores definitely get smashed. But so will the Savarn Cataphracts. Griffin Bar incoming here against Elite Palatina. Let's see if this charge is good or if it's weird. Running in the Fondatores here in the way was a good move, it turns out, because these Elite Palatina barely took any damage, and now that they're able to counter the Griffin Bar, they're going to be able to kill some Griffin Bar here. Very, very messy battle. Persian Brigade is going to die instantly to Elite Palatina. And the Griffin Bar get focused down by the by the Noble Federati Javelins here. Roman general needs to be careful, but there aren't many skirmish units able to fire at him. Still this Armenian slinger on the field. And that's the Roman general off the field. Morale isn't going to be a problem for Elite Palatina, but it is going to be a problem for everything else. And wow, the Romans are being picked apart here. Granted, Western Romans not the strongest faction by a long shot. But neither are the Sassanids, to be fair. And the Shadens didn't have as much of an impact on this battle as they need to in order to be cost effective. Armenians getting shot to pieces here. Or charged to pieces, I should say. Almost 100 kills on the Shadens, but they are super, super expensive units. So the Romans might have enough here to make something work. Because there isn't a lot of cavalry left for the Sassanids. And what's left is dying quickly. This Persian brigade, they are going to die fairly quickly to everything that's on the field for the Romans now. And taking care of these levies and these Federati, very important to be able to use this cavalry. Ooh, this is dangerous. The Savarn Sardar going in towards the Elite Palatina, but the Elite Palatina does not have attack orders, and this is massive. If the Elite Palatina would have had attack orders and thrown their precursors at the Savarn Sardar, that Savarn Sardar would have dropped very quickly. But instead the Elite Palatina gets charged, and that's pretty much it for the Elite Palatina. The Savarn Sardar, not the best general for the Sassanids, but a solid melee cavalry unit against infantry at least. And that one charge destroys the Elite Palatina. So now the Sassanids are ahead. Elite Palatina charging in, but so few of them. Armigeri will have morale problems when the general is dead. So chain route for the Romans picked apart by the Sassanids. Very frustrating to play against the Sassanids. And whether it was the army or the commander, we'll see. We'll see, because they're going to change factions in this battle. Blademaster was the Western Roman Empire. Obelix was the Sassanids. So we'll see how Blademaster is going to be able to use the Sassanids against the Western Romans of Obelix. Strength and honor.